The heavy iron-reinforced spatha blade of a rebel senator's guard sheared clean through Captain Leon's lindenwood shield, sending dry splinters whistling into the cold morning air of Lycaron.
Leon did not fall. He stepped forward, driving his iron pommel directly into the attacker's throat.
Feeling the delicate cartilage collapse beneath his knuckles.
Glory of the Golden
But
Empire.
around him,
The great glazed glass windows of the Imperial Palace, the pride of the late Emperor Arinikos, were exploding inward under a rain of heavy iron ballista bolts.
minutes earlier, this was a quiet sanctuary of administrative power. Now it is a meat grinder. To understand how Calradia's most prestigious political chamber turned into a slaughterhouse, we must look beyond the immediate clash of steel. We must look at the strategic paralysis that gripped the Southern Empire the moment Arinikos drew his last breath.
When the Emperor died without a clear male heir,
The bureaucratic heart of the Empire did not stop. It froze.
The elite Phoenix Guard, tasked with protecting the royal family, suddenly found themselves standing on a legal fault line. Rebel factions, funded by the northern trade syndicates and rival patricians,
Hurry.
Had bypassed the
return.
outer walls of
It is
Lycaron by bribing the city's underpaid gatekeepers.
Hold
Now-
the corridor.
only 300 royal guards
forward!
stood between
Break
a
their
terrified Empress Ragea and 1,000 hungry swords.
Leon was not a noble-born champion.
He was the son of a silk weaver from the southern slums of Lycaron,
where the air always smelled of boiled mulberry leaves and copper dye.
he had joined the royal guard because the Empire paid its defenders in silver dinars.
Coins his family desperately needed to pay the rising baronial rents.
But during the last months of Arinikos' reign,
Those silver coins had grown thin and brittle.
Heavily diluted with lead by a corrupt imperial mint.
The gold-washed scale armor Leon wore looked magnificent from a distance,
Forward.
reflecting
Push
the
line.
dazzling
For
sun
the
of
golden
the southern
sands.
provinces. But beneath the gilding,
The iron rivets were rusting from lack of oil.
The budget for palace defense had been systematically diverted to fund the border campaigns of mercenary lords who had already abandoned the crown.
As Leon locked his boots onto the slick marble floor of the throne room corridor,
he knew the administrative machine had failed long before the first rebel spear was thrust. The silk villas of Lycaron were still generating fortunes, but that wealth was locked behind the iron-bound chests of tax-exempt senators, leaving the frontline guards to fight on empty stomachs. Each breath Leon took was heavy.
his lungs burning under the constriction of 40 pounds of poorly fitted mail.
A silent testament to a state that spent its wealth on ceremony rather than survival.
The tactical geometry of the palace favored the defenders.
But only if they had the numbers to seal the flanks.
The glazed gate,
An architectural wonder of colored glass and carved limestone.
was designed to let in light, not armies.
Push it now.
When the heavy oak doors
It's breaking.
splintered under
We're
the
in.
impact of an iron-tipped battering ram,
Hands
The
of
rebel
Lycaron.
heavy
They shall
infantry
not
poured
pass.
into the atrium like a black tide.
They did not move in the wild.
Chaotic rush of tribal warriors.
these were professional legionaries, moving in a tight,
Mechanical testudo formation. Their massive scutum shields locked edge to edge. Leon and his remaining squad of 40 guardsmen were forced into a narrow corridor leading directly to the royal bedchambers.
Hold the line.
This was a classic
Push them back
bottleneck,
into the sand.
a tactical choke point where numerical superiority was neutralized by the physical limits of space.
The air grew hot, thick with the stench of sweat.
Unwashed wool and the coppery tang of fresh blood.
Push
The
harder.
rebels
We're
could
almost
only
through.
attack 3
I can't
abreast.
move the gate.
But their rear ranks continuously pushed forward, using the collective kinetic weight of 100 men to crush the defenders against the stone walls. Leon's world narrowed to the 3 inches of space between his shield rim and the enemy's helmets.
He could hear the desperate,
ragged breathing of his comrades.
their muscles screaming as they fought a losing battle against the relentless mechanical pressure of the shield wall. In close quarters combat, heroics are quickly crushed by the cold laws of biomechanics.
To swing a broadsword requires at least 3 feet of lateral clearance.
in the choked corridor of Lycaron, there was none.
The fighters were forced to use their weapons as stabbing instruments.
Short thrusts aimed at the vulnerable gaps in chainmail, the armpits,
The groin and the narrow throat slits of iron helmets. Leon's arms ache with a deep, paralyzing fatigue.
Each time he raised his heavy iron-reinforced spear,
His deltoid muscles flared with white-hot pain.
The weight of his armor, once a comforting shield,
Had become a prison.
his body heat was trapped inside the layers of wool, leather,
And metal, raising his core temperature to dangerous levels.
His vision began to blur.
Tunnel vision setting in as lactic acid flooded his limbs.
behind him a young guard, barely 18.
Lost his footing on a patch of blood-soaked marble.
Before he could recover, 3 iron-shod boots stomped onto his chest.
Crushing his ribs with a sickening wet pop.
Leon did not look back.
He knew that the moment he shifted his balance to help his comrade,
The kinetic energy of the enemy's shield wall would collapse his own stance. He stood rigid,
His entire skeletal structure absorbing the shock of each blow.
acting as a human dam against the rising crimson tide.
Then came the thunder. It was not the sound of collapsing masonry, but the deep, rhythmic vibration of iron-shod hooves drumming against the exterior courtyard stone.
Princess Ira, the fiercest blood of the late Emperor's line,
Ready
had
the
gathered
cavalry.
the remnants
We
of
ride
the
for
Royal
the Emperor.
Cataphract Reserve from the outer stables.
She did not wait for a formal tactical deployment.
She knew that every second wasted was a second closer to her mother's execution.
Leading 40 heavy armored lancers.
They're breaking the line.
She
Fall
charged
back.
directly into the palace's side atrium.
The sheer kinetic energy of a 1,000-pound warhorse, moving at full gallop, is terrifying. Inside the enclosed marble halls of Lycaron,
It was absolute devastation. The cataphract lances, carved from solid ashwood,
did not merely pierce, they obliterated.
Back.
the rebel flank, caught completely
Cut off.
unprepared
Watch the flank.
in the narrow passages,
For the
was
Emperor.
crushed against the pillars.
Hold the line.
Ira rode at the apex of the wedge.
Her face splattered with dark crimson.
her long sword cleaving downward with the desperate momentum of a dying dynasty.
The
Crush them
horses
into
slipped
dust.
and stumbled on the smooth floors,
They're
their
ranked.
massive bodies
Hold the
crashing
line.
into the
By
stone
the
columns.
gods of the dunes.
But the sheer
Violent audacity of the charge broke the rebel momentum.
for a brief, breathless moment,
The slaughter stopped as both sides stared at the bloody specter of the Imperial Princess riding through a sea of shattered glass.
the rebel assault was broken,
But at a cost that rendered the victory indistinguishable from defeat.
Hold the line.
of the 300 guardsmen who had stood at the dawn,
only 9 remained on their feet.
their armor so thick with blood that the gold plating was no longer visible.
Leon stood among them, leaning heavily on a broken spear.
His breathing a ragged, rattling gasp.
As the dust settled, Empress Ragea stepped out from her inner sanctum.
She did not look at the dead with horror. Instead,
Her eyes swept over the blood-soaked marble, calculating the political value of the carnage.
Move
the
that debris
tragedy
to
of
the east wall.
Lycaron would not
Yes,
be
Commander.
buried.
It would be weaponized. In the weeks that followed,
You question my
Regea
strategy.
would use the
Look at this
sacrifice
shield.
of
This
the
is
Phoenix
the price of
Guard
hesitation.
to rally
we
the
attack at
wavering
dawn,
lords
or we
of the
lose
South.
everything.
Turning a desperate palace defense into a holy crusade for dynastic legitimacy.
The names of the dead guardsmen were carved into a massive monument of white stone.
Paid for by the very silk merchants who had evaded the taxes that could have saved them.
Leon returned to his family's small dyer's cottage in the slums.
His body broken.
His mind haunted by the sound of splintering shields.
He had survived the battle,
but he knew the empire he had bled for was already dead.
Its survival prolonged only by the blood of poor boys who believed in the golden scales of a dying phoenix.
In the end,
empires are not saved by the grandeur of their thrones,
but by the quiet desperation of men who have nothing left to lose but their lives.
the glass of liquor on was never replaced.
It was left open to the wind, a silent monument to the day the Phoenix Guard bled to buy a dying dynasty one more sunset.